Am I the only one who actually likes this version of A Christmas Carol?
Hello everybody, ScotsThinker here, and welcome back to the festive season of Christmas!
The 2009 version, made by Disney and Robert Zemeckis, if I've pronounced that surname correctly, starring Jim Carrey as not only Scrooge, but all the other ghosts. Except for Marley. I feel like this is one of those films that I actually really like, yet everyone else really hates. To my knowledge, this got a bit of poor reception, mainly for being in the uncanny valley for using motion capture CGI. I think this uncanny valley, as many people describe it with motion capture CGI, I believe it can enhance the creepiness of the story. And there's a distinct advantage of having the performances be more nuanced and emotive, although, to be fair, this can also be done with rotoscoping, which, to be fair, is another animation technique which can fall into the uncanny valley. No, I actually really like the motion capture in this. In fact, I dare even argue that the visuals are quite impressive and suit this film quite well. I should also note that this director also used this motion capture technique with the Polar Express. This adaptation of A Christmas Carol is a significant improvement over a Polar Express. Because with Polar Express, you could justify the critiques of Uncanny Valley because most of the actors had static faces and emotions. I suppose it's only natural when one is improving their craft. And going back to the visuals, looking at the illustrations of the original book, these visuals complement these illustrations with the way the characters are designed, with the way the ghosts appear, and the setting. But you know how A Christmas Carol goes. It all breaks down to the creative presentation and the performances in the end. I must say I'm quite impressed with the actors. To my knowledge, all of the actors and actresses and even child actors poured their hearts and souls into everything. And all of them are well cast. I'm especially impressed with some of the actors who played multiple roles. Specifically Gary Oldman as Bob Cratchit and Marley, and of course Jim Carrey. Thanks to the motion capture, the filmmakers took advantage of the fact that Gary Oldman and Jim Carrey are very talented imitators. And thinking about it a bit more deeply, there's this sort of thematic intimacy with the link between these characters. After all, Gary Oldman is playing both of Scrooge's former assistants, and Scrooge is playing us himself. Well, Jim Carrey's playing a Scrooge, that goes without saying. As well as all three of the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. As well as his younger apprentice phase with Fuzziwig. No, Fizzywig. I made that Muppets joke. I love the way they present these ghosts. There is a lot of suspense building up to Marley. I believe that scene where Scrooge is having his porridge, hears the servant bells ringing, and then hears Marley's ghost coming up the stairs, dragging the chains. That has got to be one of the most intense moments I've ever experienced. Even watching it again, it's completely suspenseful, especially when he just slowly turns the doorknob. That lazy eye of Marley, though, when he's warning Scrooge about the state of his conscience. Whew. And the addition of all those ghosts who are in torment because they can't commit acts of kindness anymore. That was also in the Alastair Sim version, which I think this version took a lot of inspiration from. Looking back at it, I think I'm getting a lot of Alastair Sim vibes from Jim Carrey's performance. Because I myself would know this, because fun fact, during a drama club production of an anti-panto of A Christmas Carol, I was chosen to play the leading role of Scrooge, and I took inspiration from Jim Carrey and Alastair Sim. Thank God for that experience, that was wonderful. Then there's the Ghost of Christmas Past. In this version, he's depicted like a gentle candle. This candle interpretation, very gentle, very warm, very floaty, which is very relevant because he can fly. and can be a gentle reminder of days long past. Because candles are gentle and intimate, no? And the transitions with Scrooge pretty much flying to and fro with the ghosts, they get really creative with that, and it helps that Jim Carrey is a very expressive actor going, whoa, whoa! Which I appreciate, because there are some adaptations where he has pretty much a static face through those transitions. I really respect Jim Carrey. He's really funny when he wants to be. Yet I really respect him when he does dramatic roles like with Scrooge. He has these sympathetic puppy dog eyes, which really makes him excel at certain scenes. I'm not gonna lie, when I see that scene with Fezziwig and his wife dancing and defying the laws of physics, as well as him bouncing off the table, I thought, that looks a bit weird. But recently I've thought of something. What if this was also Scrooge's insight into the past? Because realistically and scientifically, in this finely tuned world of ours, it's probably possible that they're able to do that, but they kind of defy the laws of gravity as the mad fiddler keeps playing. In the next dance scene, Scrooge dances to meet his next partner, and they slowly meet each other and transition to a waltz dance, which is contradicting what they were previously dancing to, but it's a very romantic moment, and looking back at it, I think this whole dance scene is kind of romanticized to represent Scrooge's memory of looking back at such fun times. After the scene of Scrooge and his girlfriend breaking up, they stay true to the books and have the ghost morph his face to represent all the other faces that Scrooge has seen in the past, which I think really works with this motion capture CGI. You see, I told you that the animation combined with creepiness would enhance this storytelling. And the book is also accurate. Well, rather, they were accurate towards the book in depicting a struggle between the Ghost of Christmas Past and Scrooge. We also did that in the stage play. He puts out the ghost because he's a candle and he uses his cap that he's been carrying around. There's a really funny scene that comes afterwards. He puts him out. He does this smug little face like... only for the cap to rocket Scrooge up to the sky with him screaming. Taking him back to his home, transitioning to the Ghost of Christmas Present. Everything's really colourful. And usually you'd have Scrooge flying with the Ghost of Christmas Present, but they had a really creative idea of having the Ghost of Christmas Present, like, Wii remote control his torch to control the room to fly over London. Someone should make this into a game. Oh wait, there was already a Nintendo DS game of this. And yeah, they probably went a bit too extreme with his dying scene. Although there is another scene, first time I saw it actually, which is accurate to the books, where he unveils his cloak to reveal two ominous clinging children called Ignorance and Want. Beware them both, but especially beware this boy. They represent the worst of humanity. There's this powerful moment where Scrooge blurts out, "Do they have no shelter?" Only for the Ghost of Christmas Present, or in this version the actual children, to say back to him, "Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?" Which is exactly what Scrooge said. I think it works a bit better with the Alistair Sim version, because it just echoes and echoes and haunts him. And honestly, if you're bringing your kids into this, I would recommend either watching the Scrooge McDuck version or the Muppets version first. That way the children can easily comprehend the more friendly version of the Ghost of Christmas Present, and they can better understand that... They can better understand the contrast between Scrooge's words and the Ghost of Christmas Present's words. I was talking about the Muppets version with my friends Sherry and Neil over at Disney Plus Pals. Neil said his favourite version of the Ghost of Christmas Present was the Muppet version, because he was that sort of person who would take you out on a walk, talk things through. By the time he says, well, if they'd better die, they'd better do it, and decrease the surplus population, Neil said the ghost himself would never say that. They're impactful because they are Scrooge's words. And that contrast works better in the Muppets version, according to Neil. Maybe someday we'll get an interpretation where we get the warmth and bubbliness of the Muppet version combined with getting down to the truth with like the Alistair Sim version. But there is one ghost that the Jim Carrey version does exceedingly well. The ghost of Christmas Future. Now you know how this goes. He's depicted as a cloaked Grim Reaper figure, just points his way. This version is a literal shadow. And that simple design choice, which is animated so well, it's genius. It's so creepy the way Scrooge's shadow morphs into the ghost, and how one can interpret as literal foreshadowing. Love that creepy chase scene that he got with Scrooge into. Although one could perceive it as padding, on the other hand, it could be representing the inevitability of the future catching up to you, which, come to think of it, Scrooge was trying to run away from. So I guess the chase scene was really relevant and exciting at the same time, as well as funny with Scrooge becoming so tiny he has a helium voice. Again, they get really creative behind the scenes. Love the way that Scrooge also interacts with the shadows of what's yet to come. Even though these are just supernatural visions, it can work well on an intimate level with Scrooge wanting to say something but can't, which leads to a really effective dramatic scene with Bob Cratchit's sorrowful face that he's trying to hide from his family, staring right at Scrooge. Even though, supernaturally speaking, Bob Marley can't see Scrooge, but Scrooge has to see all the pain that he's mustering up. They keep the Ghost of Christmas Future kind of a mystery. He's not just restricted to shadows, because we see parts of his full figure in the fog. Get kind of a scary scene where Scrooge is pretty much damned to hell, with the future having a sort of skeleton-y face. But then, of course, there's the joy when Scrooge realizes that the ghosts are giving him a chance to redeem himself. I've heard people say that it doesn't do the heartwarming moments very well, but there's some fun moments here too. There's a scene where Scrooge in his high spirits holds onto a carriage and goes for a ride. There's a wonderful scene where, after Scrooge gets the boy to get the turkey for Bob Cratchit, he joyfully dances with the servant who was going to take down his curtains earlier on. Although some scenes are better in the Alistair Sim version, I still really like the Jim Carrey version. So overall, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 12. This is the version of Christmas Carol I'm going to talk about this year. If you want to see my review of the Richard Williams version, I'm sure you'll find it somewhere on this channel. ScotsThinker signing out. There was something else I forgot to mention. I love the main theme, God Bless Us Everyone. Not only does it get me into the Christmas spirits, but it's sung by the legendary Andrea Bocelli. Guys, if you have not heard Andrea Bocelli sing, you owe it to yourself. Amazing singer. God bless him.